Welcome to Campground at Elevations Credit Union. My name is Jay Manansala. Today, we have the honor of having Elise LoSasso join us. Elise is a Denver-based real estate agent who went all in on social media, and as a result, she's been closing millions of dollars in business every year that she's been in real estate. So let's get into it.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Cool. I'm glad we were able to get this together. I just wanted to share a quick story real quick. So a few months ago, I was going out for a run and I had this podcast idea, and I was like, you know what? I want to do it in front of an audience. And then the first person that came to mind was Elise because of her social media presence. I messaged her on Instagram, and within 10 minutes, she was like, I'm all in. Just give me the dates. Now here we are. So let's give it up for Elise.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you get into real estate?
Yeah. Okay. So my story is similar to many, I think, before they get into real estate. I don't come from a real estate background. No one in my family had done real estate, so it really was a brand new industry for me. I'm a college dropout. I went to CU Boulder for 2 years. School was never really for me. I have very, very severe ADHD, like most of us do, but it can be very hindering in the process of learning to study or doing something along the lines of what I was interested in. Like I really wanted to be a writer, but I also really wanted to possibly get in the medical world. So just different avenues. After I came home from school in my 20s, I did a plethora of jobs that kind of led me to real estate. And so I think you either have it or you don't, to be an agent. You either can sell or you can't. Can you sell, ice to an Eskimo? And that really is it. And I think when you have that hustle or ambition, and that's what I did through my 20s, right? I had to pay my bills. I had to pay my rent. And so I was always kind of told that if I didn't have my bachelor's degree and if I didn't finish school, I really wasn't going to make it. And that was kind of the way I was raised as well. So I kind of held myself back and let myself hit a ceiling in my 20s saying that, okay, well, you're lucky to have this cubicle job. You're lucky to have an 8 to 5. You're lucky to wake up and get to go to work, even though we all know what it's like to wake up and not want to get out of bed because you're just miserable with your day to day. And I kind of think back on what I did for 7 years as an admin assistant in a cubicle under fluorescent lights. And do I regret any of that? No, because it led me to where I am. However, I do think of what I could be doing in those 7 years. So I got engaged when I was around 29, 30 years old. Mm-hmm. It was a very toxic relationship, unfortunately. If anybody's dated or married a narcissist before, that's always a fun one. So I was, when I left the relationship and I called off the wedding, essentially it was very dramatic. And he was pretty much told me I was going to be nothing without him. And that was really scary because I, as kind of the cliche as a woman, let a man who was successful tell me that I wasn't going to be anything without him and that, I was never going to make it without, a degree or I'm uneducated or this, that. And so he took everything. He took my clothes. He took my car. He took everything. And it was because it was like, how dare you leave me? I'll show you. And I moved in with a girlfriend. Me and my cat started over at 31, 32 years old. I moved in with a girlfriend who has a house that's currently across the street from my house now. That's how I fell in love with Cherry Street. And I lived with her without having to pay rent for about 6 or 7 months. And I knew I had about $2,000 to my name. And my little cat, who I was obsessed with, Mello, was with me for 19 years. I had to give him chemo treatments. And so I was on a payment plan for that. I'll never forget it. And I got my license. And I mean, every last penny went to getting my real estate license. And I said, this is going to work or it's not. I have to try it. And I knew I had that fire, but nothing makes me work harder than giving the fuck you to somebody, right? And I wanted to say, fuck you, watch me. And so I spent, some of you probably heard the story, Santiago's burritos back in the day when they were like $1.50. Now I think they're like $4 or $5, but I spent about $150 on Santiago's breakfast burritos. And it was I'd get up at 4:30, 5 in the morning. I'd get all dolled up, dressed up, ready to go because I wanted to, fake it until you make it kind of a thing, act like I knew what I was doing. And after I got licensed, this is what I did. And so I went and bought breakfast burritos in the morning, stood in line, and I put my card around each breakfast burrito. And I went to high-end apartment buildings in Cherry Creek North, and I snuck in because I work in the gray and I break rules all the time because you're not going to be able to do this business and this job unless you can work in the gray and break the rules. That's the truth. And you're not allowed to be on those properties. And because, leasing agents don't have it, but the leasing agents don't come into these buildings until 9 a.m. and people are leaving for work between 6:30 and 8:30 a.m. So the garage would go up and I'd run under the garage door. And I remember being so cold, I have my little high heels on and I'm running around with breakfast burritos and I'm handing them out. Then I got to be known as the burrito girl, right? And I got to be known as the burrito girl and I was handing them out to people and they were like, who are you? What are you doing? Some people were asking for gluten-free burritos. Some people were asking for vegetarian. I mean, I'm in Cherry Creek North, right? And they're like, can you have like a better selection? I was like, okay. But I got my first client and I'll never forget when he called, because, people who are leasing, they need to buy at some point. And I'll never forget when he called and he said, I don't know anyone. My girls and I are living in the apartments. We're going through a divorce. I would really like help finding a place. And when I said, absolutely, I've worked in Cherry Creek North forever. I've got you. I mean, if this man had gone and researched me at all, he'd know that I had no background. So thank God. Now his name's Warren. And if you're watching this, which I'll have to send it to him, we've now done 2 or 3 properties together. And he is just become like an amazing part of my life. You'll never forget your first client, whether it was bad or good, you'll never forget who that first one was. And while it was a smaller commission on the real estate side of things, just because of how the deal went, when that $4,000 check hit my hand, I hit the floor and I just sobbed. And I looked up to God and I said, thank you, because it gets a little emotional. Because I think about how hard my 20s had been or what I told myself I couldn't do. And from there, your momentum gets going. That's what it's about. It's starting that momentum. And I said, well, okay, if I don't want to go to all these events. I don't want to have to small talk or have fake conversation. Handing food to people, I'm very Italian, handing food to people and watching them go to work was something that I could do comfortably. I didn't have to small talk them, right? They're leaving, they're on their way out, but I'm still hitting them. And that's where social media was born for me. It was like, how do I cast a wide net among a lot of people without having to be in these rooms and have social anxiety or ADHD where I can't even fucking concentrate on what you're saying. Right, you see those like reels where it's like, this is what my brain does when you're telling me instructions, or that's literally how I am. So not that I don't appreciate what people have to say or learning about their lives. I just like having more one-on-ones versus full rooms where, my friend Gerard over here would love to, can work a party, no problem, and be very in it with everyone. I just don't have that skill. So I think that's the other part of it, is learning what your skills are. But that's where real estate was born for me, was breakfast burritos, being very cold and saying fuck you to someone, watch me do it. Yeah. Watch me make it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I actually, I didn't meet you then. I mean, I didn't know you then, but I was you were a panelist at a real estate event 3 years ago, and I heard you share that story, and I was like, man, people need to hear that more, because like if people just started following you, they just see this highly produced video real estate, but there's a story behind it. There was a lot of hard work that was put into it. Right? Yeah. So was there, at that stage in your life, was there a point where you had to quit doing real estate?
No, there has not been one moment where I've wanted to quit. And I think that's where I feel so blessed, is I get up every day and I love what I do. Yeah, obviously, like, I'm really going through it last week. My biggest listing of my career, which was an 8.5 million, 16,000 square foot property that I'm co-listing with Afshin from Kentwood, who I just adore. It went under contract, cash, quick close, and it all fell apart 2 days before. And I just when I thought, and that is what this beautiful thing about this career is, you get humbled so fucking quickly. Mm-hmm. The minute, I don't care if I'm top 5 in the city or I'm doing 55 plus a year, or, I'm getting offered to do podcasts or things like that. Like, it hits me just as hard, because that money I accounted for as well. Like, obviously my poor seller, he's doing a lot better than Afshin and I are. He's just like, we got this, and I'm working every other lead that I can. But more than that, it's where I had allocated my funds. And this is the mistake. This is the one mistake that I know that we will keep learning in this business until you forget about the money. And I got into the money with it again. I was like, instead of really focusing on my seller or the buyer herself and doing the most due diligence I could on this woman, who ended up being a complete scam, even though verified proof of funds were there. It was hard, and I'm dealing with one of my best friends going through health issues. Some of that money was going to her medical bills. Some of that money is going to one of my divorce payments. We all have real lives. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this commission check is going to help me breathe. I'm going to be able to focus on the LoSasso group and grow the girls, and focus on bringing the LoSasso group to Miami. We can talk more about that too. But when you have the mindset of me, or it's my pocket, even though that money might have been going out for good things or different things or people. It's where it can be taken away so quickly like that. And you should not be focused on that. It's the people and it's the properties. And every time my brain is taking me to the financial success part of it, it's humbled me very quickly. And in my first year, I did about 15 million in my first year of real estate. And it's just because I was just like, let's go. And I loved being a ham. I loved the attention. I loved being the biggest comeback story, Yeah. I had a major drug addiction in my early 20s in college, which is why I dropped out. And that is a story, for another time. But a lot of people, if they ever want my one-on-one, you are more than welcome to have it and hear it. And so that was, it's a big part of remaining humble, like reminding myself where I've come from and who I am and how I got here. And so again, when we're dealing with these losses and you're in your first year of this career and you're like, oh God, this is what the rest of my life's going to look like. I finally made it. Nothing will be as bad as it ever was. And then your problems change, your lifestyle changes, and your problems become what they are. And they are first world problems, absolutely, but they're yours. Right. And so everyone's like, oh, Elise, don't worry about it. You'll just have another deal. I'm like, I'm taking this so hard. Like Taj has had to walk me through. She's over here, bless her heart. She's had to walk me through this past week just to get out of bed and be like, keep going, one foot in front of the other. Remember who you are. And my first year, when I did that amount, that 15 million, I was like, I've got this. And then that ego hits, right? We all can go through that too. And that ego hit me. And I was like, I had like 40 grand coming in 1 month. For me, that was, I was making $35,000 a year. And so, that was where I just couldn't believe that I had done it. And within 3 days, all 3 deals fell apart. I remember being on my floor just sobbing because you're like in a victim. Everything that real estate has done for me has brought me the life skills and the maturity as an adult that I need. Mm-hmm. Because you learn how to confront, you learn how to have adult mature conversations, you learn how to handle and not, listen and not react, and listen to, not listen to respond, but just to listen to people. It's taught me every life skill that I could ever want, which is why I've never thought about quitting. Sorry, that's a very long answer, but I feel like it's just a full story. Right. So
yeah, this is perfect. Like I said in the beginning, I think it's important for people to understand your story, right? Mm-hmm. And I did this whole podcasting to actually inspire others. And I'm glad that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So I just want to pivot real quick. So how did you go from 15 million to 50 plus $1 million?
I don't know. No, I think what the absolute breakthrough was probably year 3, where it was time to really level up. Mm-hmm. I think we all feel when we get into our careers, we're comfortable, and that's good. When you're in real estate and you're comfortable, you're like, okay, it's good. Don't touch it. Nobody move. Nobody breathe. I'm actually closing deals and it's fine. Do you want to try for different? Do you want to keep trying to break through that ceiling? And I was like, what? I guess I've just always thought outside the box. And I really don't have a ton of hobbies, because after I took on real estate, I lost myself in my 20s a bit. I forgot what I liked to do. I was kind of a chameleon with people around me. I became someone who I didn't know who I was when I was engaged, all that stuff. So I think it was more like the social media part where I was able to be at home and have a hobby again. So Instagram brought me a hobby that I know it sounds silly, but it wasn't me just like doom scrolling, because that wasn't even a thing when Instagram was 2012, I think, when it really first kind of came out. And so that was 2016. I got licensed in December 2016. So 2017 is really where I started to work my page. And I liked having a hobby again, because I used to ride horses. I used to write. I used to hike. But Lord knows when I got licensed, I wasn't even saying yes to birthday parties on the weekends. I wasn't saying yes to hiking because I couldn't be at a cell service. I didn't want to let people down and cancel on them if I had to do showings. So that was my problem. And if I could teach agents anything, is keep your life along with it, and I wasn't married and didn't have kids. So I also didn't have to do that balance. But I just lost myself into real estate, which also I think is why I did become so successful. But trust me, it caught up to me when I started to lose myself in my career. So then here I am, fast paced, fast working, ambitious, wearing the suit, the blazer, not saying the word fuck for like 2 years if I could help it. And, trying to get any and every client I could, which then kind of poisoned the well of where I was at. My career took a standstill at year 3 in a way, where it almost started to decline because I was trying to be what everybody else was. I was trying to show up just like everybody else was showing up and not really knowing who we are or what we're doing or the confidence to be somebody different in this business. And so year 3, I was like, I've got to change something. And I was like, what makes me go stronger again? Giving the middle finger. And so I kind of gave the middle finger to the stereotypical female blonde agent, whose office is in Cherry Creek North. And I said, watch this. And I remembered who I was, and I came back into myself, and I threw myself into social media, and I have this very rebellious, sassy spirit. And I've been like that since I was a kid. And so I let that come out. I let myself come out. Did I lose clients? You bet. Did I lose clients? Let me tell you, the mom of 5 kids with a white picket fence and a golden retriever in Wash Park isn't calling me. You know what I mean? But the women who run businesses in Dubai and have businesses here are. And it's just a different, who you are and who you want to be is going to show you and teach you with clients you get to surround yourself with and who you want to work with. So that was hard. All we can do is compare ourselves to people. That's all we do. This person did this much. Like, this person looks like this. This person's page is this. What she's doing, I want. Just because it works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you, but the authenticity. Right. And I found myself through it. Like, this is who I am. What's really beautiful about finding yourself between the ages of 37 and 41 is that, I've been through a lot of life with it. I didn't find myself too early to where I think I would have gotten burnt out on this, to be honest with you. So if you can find yourself in this career and make it a lifestyle for you, I think that's what it's all about. So year 3 was that breakthrough where I tore it all down. I burned it to the ground because I was like, what the hell is all of this for? Now I was actually in a marriage who we are best friends. Stevie Tuck and I adore him. Neither one of us have actually had anything bad to say about the other. If I could have a perfect divorce, it'd be where I'm at with him. We should have been best friends the whole time. We own Tuck Development together. But here I am married, not happily married, I'm making almost $1 million or more a year, right? I've built a beautiful home. I have everything I could ever want and hit the cliche shitty statement of I'm not happy. So then I burned it all down, and I stopped, and I took a huge step back. I went to different kinds of therapy. I looked inward. I kind of reset, and then I rebranded. And that is where it just jumped. And I think the next year I did like 40 million. So it went from I think it was like 20, 25, and then it went to 40, it doubled. And anybody you can see, actually, it's pretty crazy on the track records of like the paperwork. If you look back at agents who did double, they've rebranded or they took a step back from work and then they skyrocketed through. So that's something to maybe take into account as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So year 1, 2, and 3, what activities were you doing that did not result in any kind of action or just was a complete waste of time?
Yeah. Mailers for me didn't really work. It was, I also think that we know it a lot. Okay, here it is. Everything will work and you will not witness the hard, the fruits of your labor if you are consistent with it. And so I was trying anything I could, like throwing anything against the wall to see what stuck, but I didn't have the right financial mentor to tell me like, okay, here's what you should budget for 2 years of doing mailers like once a quarter, or here's if you want to do like what it looks like to do a farming takes 3 to 5 years to come to fruition, if you're farming a zip code or a neighborhood. So I was trying everything, but I wasn't sticking with it long enough. And here I am on the side just doing Instagram, right? Didn't care how many likes I had, views I had. I was just having fun with it. And that is where that became successful. But the first, I would say, how about this? I did everything. So the things that were successful were events. I liked doing events, sip and shops for women and men. Even on Valentine's Day, I did a sip and shop in my second year, and it was just for men. And the men came and we helped them pick out stuff for their wives and girlfriends and moms. That was really successful. Doing events for celebrations like Easter or holding a happy hour for St. Patrick's Day, like work the holidays. They're already there for you. People are off and they're ready to celebrate somehow. So work those. That really worked for me. I would also say it's obviously for me, it's just the social media part. And when I was working, Instagram behind the scenes, doing things like before I even had buyers, I would go up to Evergreen because I wanted the day to go by, right? I didn't have an 8 to 5 anymore and I needed some type of structure. And so I would schedule showings, which by the way, I had a horrible trainer when I had a boutique brokerage my first couple of years. And sorry if she hears this, but it just was not there wasn't the proper training that I needed. And so I didn't set up agent previews on a listing. I set up showings. So they thought I actually had a buyer, but no one called me to verify that. So I'd go up to like $1 to $2 million properties in Evergreen or Boulder, and I would put a story to it, saying that I'm showing my buyers today. And then people were like, oh, so-and-so's got that much money, so do I. I'm going to work with her. I'll call her. Or, oh, she does do luxury. Let's see how we can do it. So it's really just acting like you were already there. And then, getting the clients from it was really, I mean, that first message you get saying, hey, I'm in California. I've been following your page for a while. Who knows how they get the algorithm or how they start to follow you. But I mean, I've had somebody who's been following me for 4 years and they just moved out here from Manhattan Beach and did a 3.5 million. But I'm also doing things on Instagram that are very rebellious, right? I am cussing. I am showing you guys everything about my life. I hide nothing. Am I drinking? Am I going out? Am I having an argument with the person I'm dating? Did I just break up with someone? Am I dating someone new? Like, you all know me and you know everything about me. And that's what I love too. And so I think if you want a private life, I'm not the person to speak to on how to share with that, because I want the clients who I can get in the car with, who know me and know what they're getting. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So at the same panel that I heard you speak, one of the person I was interviewing asked how much of your business is from social media, and I believe 40%.
45%.
That's crazy.
Yeah, 45%. I'd say about 46% lit in the past 6 months is thanks to Instagram. My posts do go to TikTok as well, but I don't really work TikTok. The ADHD kicks in and I get very, very overwhelmed. And the minute that I get overwhelmed, I shut down and I'm very debilitated. So then I just kind of like freeze. And so when you introduce new platforms like YouTube, then YouTube fucking Short, whatever the hell that is. And then, I was like, I don't know. And people are like, you need to be working these. You're losing a lot of business by not working them. Well, look, I just need to make sure I'm okay right now. And then I can maybe break through to another platform. But yeah, I would say it's 46% and the rest is referral that way. And so referral business, I think what a lot of agents forget, including myself, is that other agents are your best friend. Yeah. I've got other realtors following me who are like, hey, I have a lot of business that goes to Denver. Would you be willing to be a referral partner? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Or of course, you've got your clients referring you, which is the best compliment you could ever get. So yeah, it really is a monster of its own. And when I say that, it's a double-edged sword. It's a beautiful thing to kind of sit back and have people come to you for business. We all love that, and not having to do boots to ground as much. But I'm also in a jail, like the algorithm. Like, I have to post a story certain amount of time throughout the day, certain amount of hours apart. Once you learn, it's just like anything else, right? When I wanted to be a writer and then people would red pen my papers. And so it was just like shoved down my throat, and it kind of puts a bad taste in your mouth about how you want to write. Like, writing's supposed to be creative. So I actually haven't logged on to TikTok or Facebook in probably 6 months, but all my posts go to both. And so I have I've always had an in-between called a creative who will do all of that for me, because I'll look at my Instagram constantly throughout the day, but having a creative is very helpful because they are the ones who can look at the comments, and if there's like any trolls or people thinking something negative, they'll delete them or hide them. And then she's like, hey, this person messaged you on Facebook. They're curious about this flip that you posted. Would you know? And I'm like, if I do that, my life would be over in a way where I barely have a life now during the day off of social media. So, and people are going to think that that's sad. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I wouldn't change it. Do I wish sometimes that if I take a vacation that I don't have to post as much or worry about as much? Absolutely. But I've worked so hard to get where the algorithm's pushing me out to, and the followers that I do have, that that's my day-to-day work. So it's an animal of its own. And that's what I was saying, is it's a double-edged sword in that way, where it just kind of, it's its own business. And did I ever see myself here? I didn't. But I feel like this is kind of where the world's going. Yeah.
I agree.
Yep. And my attention span is just like everybody else's. I want to know something within the first 5 to 15 seconds. And am I stubborn and want to kick my heels in and say, or dig my heels in and say, I don't want to learn anything new about the algorithms, or I don't want to practice what new hooks are, or I don't want to learn all of this. But, I've created this baby and I've nurtured this baby, and I want this baby started to crawl, then walk, then run, now sprint. And it's like, keep up with the baby or I'm not going to be able to do it, So yeah, it's a beautiful life though.
So real quick, she said creative in plain English.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that means?
Yeah. So I kind of made up that role. What I would think, and what a social creative will tell you that they do, is like they're the go-between. So Kiki is my creative. She was a good friend of mine. She was just kind of taking a break from working. She had she had mold poisoning going on from an apartment she was living in. And so I was like, you know what? I need a new team. I kind of replaced my old videographers. And because they were just getting, let's put it this way, anybody I hire for social media ends up becoming successful when they promote that I'm hiring them, which is tough, right? And that's not an egotistical statement. It's been proven now for 3 times where I've taken on staff, videographers, cameramen, creatives, and I said, please focus on my work. And I'm like, I don't want to not post you or tag you with the work that you do. But the minute I do that, they blow up. So the first one I had to let go because they stopped caring about my content and the editing went downhill. Second group was I was very, very close with. That was a really hard one to let go of. But the same thing, very kind of complacent. And there's no thinking outside the box. They get up and do just enough what they have to. Creative's the word fucking creative. Think outside the box and give me something good. And now Kiki's like, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And then they learn your brand. And so the Just Pended now, who I use, they've blown up after they posted a reel with me. And I think they were doing a ton of beautiful listing videos. They weren't doing content for agents. So I was a guinea pig and Chitty was very worried about what that would look like. And I said, trust me, we've got it. It's essentially what we do is, Kiki and I will create a brief is what she does is she creates a brief and she says, here's like 10 different reel ideas. We have a shared folder on Instagram. I put ideas to it. She puts ideas to it. And then her job is to come up with 2 original ideas that aren't things that I would copy or voice over or redo. So we do a shared folder and I say, okay, like for example, March is coming up. So she'll give me my brief by the end of, April. She'll give me my brief by mid-March for April. So the brief will have, here's 6 ideas that we have. Here's my 2 original ideas. What do you think? What are your thoughts? And then we collaborate for about it. We do a meeting and we collaborate on it. She creates the brief. She then works with the videographer and editing team at Just Pended. I'm hands off after that, right? I'm hands off. So I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I have the brief. She creates wardrobe for me and everything. So the night before a shoots are 2 to 3 hours long. The night before a shoot, I put together my outfits and I pack my car up. A lot of time when it's at my house, it's so nice, right? Because I can run back and forth with my closet. But if they're at listings or other people's listings, packing up the car, there's a props list, there's a wardrobes list. You have to be organized. Don't do any of this if it's going to look like shit or if you're not going to care enough. I could learn a lot from being more organic with it. I could learn a lot with maybe just doing some more reels with my phone. I think that I've gotten so tied up in the pressure of what it has to be like to look perfect or have the excellent, videography behind it. But people still want real, right? They want authentic. And my reel views were kind of down around Christmas. I'll never forget it. And my dad and I always joke, we're so Italian. When you're raised Italian, you drink wine out of like little juice glasses instead of wine glasses. It's just what we do while we're cooking and stuff. And I did a little reel on that at my parents' house by myself. And I had forgotten even what it was like to reel and cut up, edit all of it. And it had like 25,000 views within the first day though. People were like, oh, it's organic again. So I'm working on getting back there. But a creative essentially is someone who creates that brief, helps you to be the go-between. My other main issue with Just Pended that came up, right, is they almost became too busy. And I said, hey, like editing's going downhill. I noticed there's not a ton of attention to detail anymore. I need you guys to care. And so Austin is the videographer that I work with. My brand is so important to me. Like I don't want different camera people every time. I don't want a different editor every time. Someone edited something for me and had lightning bolts as the transition. Like that's not it's cool for someone else, not my brand. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, don't piss me off right now because this is everything I wanted to get ahead of. And you want other people to be successful. I don't not want Chitty and Just Pended to be successful, but that was tricky. And so I've also learned my boundaries. I've never wanted to say that I was too important for anything, but for the love of God, if I'm building your business, give me my own fucking editor. And he said, and then 2 days later, I have my own editor. So now I have my own editor, my own camera guy and videographer who will always be the ones at my set because they know who I am, what I'm doing, and they learn you. So that's the other thing. You can't expect somebody else to know what's up here for you. But having a creative really does help. What I've learned about creatives is you're going to have to pick. You're going to have to pick if it's someone who is aesthetic and like loves to like think outside the box and be fun and funky, or the analytical creative where it's like, well, here's the algorithm and here's what it's saying and here's what it's doing. So, and Kiki is the analytical. My old one was the aesthetic. So you can't get both in a creative. I've tried. The analytical though, I can be the aesthetic, the analytical is the one that you need who will teach you kind of about the algorithms and what's popular, what's trending, things like that. And she can keep up on that stuff. So I don't have to be so tired to do so.
But you're not too worried about algorithms because you're posting consistently on stories.
Yes.
And that's the organic. I mean, I know you mentioned like I need to be a little bit more organic and film on my camera. Your reels, your static reels, yeah, they're highly produced, but a lot of your stories are actually very organic. And that's where, in my opinion, based on my experience, that's where gold is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But real quick, So a quick suggestion here is, you know what they call them now is shredders.
Shredders.
Videographers, editors, and content planning. That's so for example, Larry could quickly take 30-second clip of us, edit it, and post it while we're having a conversation.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So if you were to start real estate again and you know about this whole social media world, what's the first hire? Like what has helped you get your social
An
media?
assistant. Like I mean, I'm not kidding. Like I'm so controlling over my business because we work so hard to grow it. So the minute I hired my first assistant and was able to learn how to delegate, did I have my life back a bit? And then you almost feel guilty because like I would be sitting there, like I remember the very first Saturday where I just didn't know what to do with myself. And that's what I'm saying about this career is if I could go back and change anything, I would have hired an assistant much sooner. I waited till I was doing 30 to 40 million to hire someone. I think that if you're at 20 to 25, I think you can do everything on your own before 20. If you're between 10 and 20 million, you can do part-time assistant. I would say anything over between 20 and 50, you need someone who can help you full-time because you can have your life and they're making you money. Right? The minute I hired my first, proof was in the pudding. So, and then from there came the Instagram staff. But when you have an assistant, you can still at least do them together, the reels and stuff. But then, it came the shredders. I like that. Shredders.
Yeah. You
gotta
get a shredder on the team.
Yeah.
So I teach Instagram classes to real estate agents and lenders. And so after class, I always get people like, hey, do you know any social media managers? And to me, that's the worst thing because they're just posting the same type of content they're posting for other lenders, realtors. And a lot of it is just pictures. They're not even videos.
Yeah.
Would you agree that like hiring a social media manager is probably
waste of money?
Yeah, complete
waste of money. I think what's really hard is we all want to kind of close our eyes and turn our back to it and say it's working on its own. But the person that you're hiring, first of all, you're paying them, and second of all, like they need to care more than just doing an upload so that they check the box off that day. They need to learn you. You need to let them into your life. And again, that's where I think a lot of agents have trouble is they don't want their kids on camera. They don't want to talk about what they're going through in their life. The vulnerability and authenticity isn't there. People can smell it in 2 seconds. And so it's a waste of money if you're not going all in. Like Kiki, her and I were acquaintances, but we weren't like really good friends. For 3 months, she had to dive in and get to know me and know my brand. Because the first things that she was sending me, I was like, oh God, this is not me at all. And they have to know who you are. You're just the same suit walking into a listing appointment if you're not going to be the person who's different with your staff. So I think you need to change it up, and you need to, I would do a brand packet. I feel like if that's anything you want to, if you don't do that with your agents already, teaching them about social media, a branding packet is really important. I was doing coaching, and I still have a company called Rebel Branding. I put that on the back burner because I started the LoSasso group, but I was teaching agents about branding and kind of, again, burning it all down and rebranding yourself and teaching yourself who you want to be or who do you see yourself as. And it starts simply with fonts and colors and images. And then from there, you'd be surprised who you grow into. And there's a couple agents who I still get thank you notes from the branding courses. And so I think that's a big one too, is if you are kind of lost right now, or you feel like you've hit a ceiling, or you're just interested in getting started, brand yourself. You can do this business anywhere. I think brokerage backing is important. I also think we all know that most brokerages pretty much offer the same benefits anymore. So you are your business. You are your logo. You are your fonts, your colors, your lifestyle, your personality, and you are that friend to people. I had a very masculine energy in this when I first got started, very commercial side of it, brain, right? One and done. Who's next? Who's next? Who's next? I was sending out like home anniversary gifts, but I wasn't actually being like, how are you? How are the kids? And these are people who are in your life for like a year possibly or more when you're looking for homes. And so that was doing them a disservice and myself. And then being able to get on the more emotional side of it. And I'm sorry, I just disagree with two things. I disagree that you should have 2 different pages. If you have 2 pages, I highly recommend you blend or you get rid of one. You're confusing people. It makes it seem like you're 2 different people. Why do you want that? If you do that, then stick with one and go, and you'll be surprised at how more helpful it is for you and how your brain can just kind of be more on the target marketing side. And then I also disagree with not being emotional in this business. Mm-hmm. I go to sleep and I lose sleep over my deal still. And I care about my people, and I care enough that it gets to me too. If this job isn't actually getting to you a little bit, then I'm sorry, I don't think you're in the right business, because then you're not going to get the clients that you want, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So you mentioned branding quite a bit.
Yeah.
And you know, something you're doing something right on social media when everyone recognizes you or knows you. So we have a mutual friend in here. His name is Gerard, right? And he's changing my behavior because now every time I drive and I'm looking at like license plate to see if it's customized, because that's what he's known for, right?
Yeah. I actually have a new one for you. It's misdemeanor. Misdemeanor. It's a good one. Yeah.
But he's just, you know, for him, it's just like, man, he's constantly doing that. And so every time I drive, I'm like looking for that. And I think of him automatically. And it's just, and I shared this on story. I was like, it's so true because anyway, that's when you know that you're doing something right on social media.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's look at Gerard for a
Yeah.
second, right? So
Yeah.
it's the license plate. It's, hey guys, sup, Gerard here. Hey guys, Gerard here. Gerard here, on all his videos. And then it's, Gerard does good business. I mean, he's definitely skyrocketed. I've been with him since, you know, he's just watching him grow has been absolutely amazing, but he is an amazing human. Yes. And so he is like, I'm at home on Saturday because my assistants and my team are doing everything for me. And I'm like, I don't know what to do today. And Gerard's fucking out there leaf blowing at his listings. And, you know, like this is someone who, you know, he can remind agents like me that you need some elbow grease for people to see that you care. Like I don't do my own open houses anymore. Your clients want you. Your clients want you to show them homes. They want you to be at the open houses, or at least the first weekend, you know? So I think that's the branding where he'll always be recognized, but that's what's building his business too, is he's showing people that, hey, I'm surrounding myself with luxury agents and luxury clients, but I'm also doing these flips out in Aurora and they get the same business and same service. He's doing the same for everyone. That's also really important, is I kind of branded myself out of the average price point home, right? We're about what, 700, I think, or 685 for average single family home. And I had my cousin's best friend who I was raised with too. She sold her house for $785, and I straight up said, why didn't you use me? Because I know her really well. I didn't want to waste your time. It was almost embarrassing to call you. And I was like, fuck. And that I was getting that more because I mean, God, that's food on my table, literally food on my table. Those are the ones that, you know, pay the bills. And yeah, I like luxury, but I love the first time home buyers more and stuff. So you have to be very careful with that too. You have to be able to show that you could do both worlds, but that you care about both worlds. But sorry, back to branding.
No, 100% agree, because a few weeks ago, I had to ask you like, hey, what's the price point? That
Yeah.
you're working with? But real quick, so we have a transaction that's going to close in a couple of days. We didn't even talk on this is the most that we've conversation. We've never talked on the phone, okay? Everything was done through DM and email. Isn't that crazy? That's the world that we're living in right now.
It is.
A lot of people, like, they do social media, they do Instagram, but they don't do the DMs. Like for me, if you want people to engage with your content, you need to take the first step and engage with.
Yeah.
That's the reason why we have a group of people here. I engage with them. If I just took a flyer and posted on Facebook and Instagram, guaranteed there's like 2 people that would show up. You know, you got to put in the work. So engage with people. Don't wait for people to engage with your content.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I mean, there's just something to be said about, I mean, all of us will do everything we can not to talk to anyone. Like, seriously, I call it the 10,000 pound phone, where it's like, I just can't pick up the phone. I mean, and then I get anxiety when I see clients calling me. Like, that's the world I'm in, where it's like everything I do is through social media. So a phone call can be a lot. And I'm telling you, this Piccadilly listing, this 8.5 million, is just, I'm on the phone every hour with whether it's the seller, the buyer agent, the buyer found my number and is calling me. So not good. My partner on it, you know, all of that. And so you have to be an adult. You have to be an adult, and you have to have class and elegance to it. I am wild, right? I am wild. I am out there. I am dancing on tables. I am having fun. I am getting drunk. I am cursing. I am crazy, but I am an amazing, huge-hearted person, and I have class and elegance at the same time. You can have both worlds. You can be that person. You just have to be able to show people that. And so as many people as I want to text, do a DM to, put something in their mailbox, the minute I do a handwritten card, that really works, by the way. Handwritten cards work. I will do handwritten cards twice a year, and I'd say I get at least 2 or 3 deals. It's just reminding people that you're thinking of them. Not Merry Christmas cards. Nope. It's like, hey, I was just thinking about you. I closed a house near yours the other day, and I just wanted to tell you guys that I just still so appreciate you a lot. And it goes a long way. And my handwriting is like a 2-year-old, so it's even more vulnerable. but
good. Mine is like that
it's
too.
so bad, but those work. And then the calls, like touching people, you know, and it's like, well, what the hell am I going to say? They're going to wonder why I'm calling. It's like, you're a real estate agent. You're calling to say, hey, I'm thinking of you, and let me know if there's anything else that I could ever do for you. If you have anybody else who needs business, you know, like, don't ask what you're going to say. Say what you would say to anybody that you want their business for. And then you are your walking brand. Wear it. Wear your brokerage colors. Wear your brokerage logo. Wear you all the time. Car, so on the back of your cell phone, back of your laptop, water bottles. Like, I've had Uber drivers be my clients. I've had 3 Uber drivers be converted to clients, whether I was wasted in the back seat or if I was completely sober on the way to the airport. You know, I've converted them to clients. I've had my King Soopers checkout girl become a client. Everybody I talk to throughout the day knows I'm a real estate agent. And it's not because, hi, I do real estate. It's so I cringe, right? She's asking me how my day's going. I'm like, oh, it's good, but I'm really stressed out. The real estate market's really tough right now. Boom. It's just organic. And that's other part of it, is be confident in what you're doing. Because again, they can smell it in 2 seconds if you don't have that confidence. We had a team, LoSasso group team meeting last week. And one of my girls was, there was a Facebook post that somebody was asking for an agent who had certain expertise in an area, and she had them, and she looked around the group and goes, well, which one of you should I have recommended? And I was like, fucking you recommend yourself. But that, to me, that is so foreign, not to want to put yourself forward and think that you're not good enough. And it's like, everything, go for it. And that's the other thing of why I think I was so wrapped up in work. I was kind of a robot there for the first 5 years as this really took off. Was I said yes to everything. Calls at 9:00 at night, I would pick up and I would go show the houses. I remember showing vacants. I remember the 21, 22 market. Yeah. Things are 50 to 100 grand over, at least 10 offers per property, lines outside for showings. Like, it was fucking Disneyland. And then COVID, COVID before that, that's what changed everything too. And so I said yes to everything, where now my boundaries are up more a bit, where I do turn them down. But I just felt like I put myself in this position. I needed to work. I needed to make a life for myself. I needed to start building some retirement. Like, I really blew away my 20s and had a really hard 30s as well. And so here I am at 41, be 42 this year. And I couldn't be happier with how I've built my life, and I couldn't be more thankful and more blessed every day that I pulled myself out of something that I never thought I could. And I'm still kind of in shock that I get these opportunities, it feels good to know that I do a good job and I know I'm good at my job. What I don't want is when there's other top agents out there and people don't know how to talk to them, or they don't want to talk to them, or those agents hand their clients off to their assistants. I get a lot of trickle down business from other top agents who are in the top 3 who say the clients were like, well, we met them once and we worked with their assistants every day after that. So that is a hard balance when you're that busy, but you have to put yourself out there. You have to be authentic, and you have to say yes to everything for the first 2 or 3 years. Like, that is what you have to do. I remember I was at a house one time at midnight. It was a vacant property by mine. They worked till 10 p.m. She was a nurse. We wrote an offer. I submitted it at 4 a.m. and we were under contract by 8 a.m.
You do work.
Thanks. I talk fast too. I do everything fast.
Because you were like, we're going to go check out the property and then like a couple of hours contract. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Right. Well, and I think a lot of it too is getting that right training at showings, you guys. Like, if you want to be the agent that just opens the door, like most of them think we are, most people think that's all we do is we open doors, which is just so laughable. It's cute. But it's like, some agents, I've been to showings where you just kind of let them walk around the house, and maybe if they got questions for you, you'll find the answers out or whatever. I'm leading that shit. I am leading it the whole time I open that door. I'm like, come on in, take your shoes off, or no, don't worry about your shoes. Okay, let's start over here. Okay, let's note these things in the kitchen. Okay, what about the bedroom? What do you like about this? What don't you like? And like, before we leave, do you want to take video? Or what are the pros and cons of this? So I know we love it, but if we have to find something bad about it, lead it. Take control of it. They're hiring you for that. And that's one of my pitches and my listing appointments and my buyer appointments is, you're hiring me, and at the end of the day, I work for you. But, I'm going to give you my opinion no matter what you want. I'm going to tell you what I think. And then you can say, hey, Elise, I appreciate that, but I still want to go this way. That way, I've kept my side of the street clean, right? And knowing what I'm going to be doing. And if they're making a mistake by bidding 100 grand over, knowing they need to sell in 2 years, then they made that decision themselves. But I gave my opinion. I don't let my clients run circles around me. And you control the deal. The minute you let that client overrun you, it's bad. And I have that at least once or twice a year still, where some other strong personalities are there. But God, you got to have that confidence, and you really have to know what you're doing. You know, I mean, I was going through a tough time last year with some things, and there was a few months there where I had listings where I think I was just kind of disassociated, like floating above my body during the listing appointments as they're explaining the house to me. One of them was a big horse property, and they must have had to tell me facts probably 5 or 6 times that they should have never had to do, right? Like, can the stable be expanded this way? What's the zoning if they wanted different livestock? What is it, you know, and just shit that I should have had a feature and fact sheet done within that first hour or, you know, of leaving that appointment, and I didn't. And so I'm always looking back on what I could have done better. Am I too hard on myself? Probably. But if I'm not, then how am I growing or learning? Like, remain teachable. Yeah.
Embrace the hard.
Yeah.
Right. So what advice would you have for a real estate agent who wants to start building a brand and educating the clients that they serve on social media? And if they don't have the income or asset capacity to hire a videographer and editor, what advice would you give to them just to get started?
Yeah. So everybody has 30 to 50 bucks, I hope. If not, let me know. I'd be happy to lend it to you, because seriously, I think that you can get a tripod, get gimbal, or get like one of the phone holders and just start practicing. And speak on things that you like to talk about. Like, I'm not going to sit here and talk about, financial investments. Like, that stuff bores me. I'm not the analytical mind. Do I have my own political opinions on things? Sure. But more than that, I love talking about horse properties. I love talking about different interior design aesthetics. I love talking about real stories, because you become passionate and people can see that through the camera. And so, do your Instagram stories, but I would say sit down, ask ChatGPT for a branding guide, or I'm happy to give you a branding guide too, and fill one out yourself and take it very seriously. And then take that brand and then take the next steps of what you would do with that brand. So now you have, if you're going to be doing videos from the same place every day, I don't recommend that. I don't like when I see the same video from someone's office every day. Great. Make sure you have different locations set up, like whether it's throughout your home, whether you're doing it outside of places, go to different houses. I also would say Gerard did another really good thing about branding himself is he went to every single fucking event that's out there. It's every broker open, every open house, right? That he could go to support other agents, and that building that community and being out is huge. And so now people are like, oh, this person's always on the go. It's like, well, you didn't have to do that all in one day, but now start a folder in your phone called B-roll. And every time you're doing something, whether you're in an Uber or you are at a friend's house or you're at a birthday party, and just start videoing yourself doing things or videoing other people doing things. Now you have a whole folder of content that you can throw something together on days that you don't. So that's also really nice. The B-roll folder is my savior, especially if I'm sick or I've had it in January, I could barely do my my content shoot. So I was like, we need fillers. And then of course, if you have reels that you've done from back in the day, you can always repost. So I took one and reposted from 2 or 3 years ago, and it got another 40,000 views. You can reuse things. Make sure you remove your watermark. You can do that with different apps or things like that, because the watermark then will be on there, but all kinds of stuff. And I'm still very involved with my page. I'm very controlling of that too. But yeah, do a branding guide, follow steps of what would be next, and take that branding guide and turn it into a new baby that will then crawl, walk, run, and sprint. And start practicing. And you don't have to have a videographer or editor. It's good for you to learn that stuff anyway. It's time consuming, yeah. But there's also places, there's apps now that you can download where you can get the templates, real templates. A lot of people don't use those or know that. So I would start there too.
So let me ask you this. Did you have any when you got started, did you have any limiting beliefs that prevented you from being consistent? And what were those?
Yeah, I mean, at some point when I wasn't really myself, there was only so much content I could do. I'm not going to be, when I was just sharing on things that people wanted to hear about, this house just sold for $100,000 over, and here's why. I bought this suit that I'm wearing is from Ann Taylor, and this is where, it just at some point, when you don't have things to be passionate about or share about yourself, the content hits a ceiling. And so that's where it was for me again in that third year, where I kind of burned it all down and started over. So people already knew who I was. It was just, welcome to who I really am, and that was fun.
Yeah, you're very consistent with stories. It's crazy because I think there was one time where you sprained your ankle, and then you had a friend pushing you around a grocery store.
I broke my foot by doing. I broke my foot by doing a headstand at a party. I'm not kidding. That's what happened to me. So I'm very, very young at heart. I'm very playful, and I'm using that word to describe myself anymore because trust me, as many people who love my content and love to follow me, I have as many people who hate me. And I mean hate. Like they want to see me go down, whether they will take pictures of me and send them to my managing broker if I'm at a bar, or they will report, oh yeah, like when you're in the public eye and they will, I was with Gerard at a Nuggets game once and I was getting stopped like every, I don't know, probably like once every 45 minutes to an hour or so. And it was like, I'm a realtor, but I just wanted to drink and have fun with my friends that night. And then I felt like I couldn't because people were like, oh, I follow you. Or it just can be a lot. And then you have people like, don't you want to be careful? Like, aren't you worried about other agents reporting you on stuff? And I'm like, let them. I will always be the person to pour love all over it back. And again, what do I say to move forward? I give the middle finger and I say, watch me. And, I think when people are so focused on that, they're so miserable inside and they're so frustrated that their businesses aren't growing and they're so focused on the toxicity of comparison that they can't, if they put half that energy into themselves, they'd be successful. So it's a dog eat dog world out there with real estate agents too. Find your tribe. That is the other thing. I mean, I would say just in my life, since I turned 40, the people around me, I am so blessed to have. I mean, these are ride or dies. They know like everything about me. Yeah. Oh yeah. Are you kidding me? Absolutely. And Gerard. Right. Gerard and Todd, these are two of my best friends in life and they are in my circle. And that is huge because when you are online a lot and everyone knows everything about you, I still have this private life. I call everybody my babies. These are my babies. These are my everything. And this is chosen family because Lord knows at the end of the day, I'm human and I cry and I break down and I think I'm not good enough or I think I'm ugly today. Like I have shit like that still. I do because of the world we're in. And that sucks. That's really hard. And so I would say biggest thing to take away from today, especially with social media, just do it. Just do it. Like post the post, go spend the money to make the money, take that leap and like see, you will fly off that cliff instead of fall. I promise. Just do it. Because you never know if you don't,
I agree. So 2-part question.
Yeah.
Where do majority of your leads come from on Instagram?
Yeah.
Is it DMs, stories, or the reel? And then the second question is, how come you don't post just closed, just listed? I mean, they annoy me because I teach it. The worst. I don't see that on any of your feed. How come you don't do? How come you don't post those?
I think because one-offs aren't as good as batches. So like. If I have a just close, that's a big deal, you bet. Like when Piccadilly went under contract, I put under contract because it's 8.5. I was like, this is great. But every agent is getting just closed and just listed. Every agent is, a lot of people have that. And I know you're excited, but I also think that's putting it out there that look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. And I think where people should look at you is how many did you close this quarter? How many did you close this month? Not the day to day. Now, if you're using your social media to help promote a listing, absolutely. Just listed, open house this weekend. But I think that should be more of a story than a stagnant post because people are just doing this and the algorithm actually pushes it down, especially with as much text as you can put onto a frame. It hates that. But so I think, whatever works for you, it just never worked for me. Most of my leads come from like, hey, we had an inspection done and my inspector missed this. There was a leak in the dishwasher and now there's water over the floor. As an agent, how do I handle that? This is things like that people want to hear about. They want life. They don't want to know about your new listing right away. They want to know what went wrong with it or what's great about it. What's different about that listing? Just listed, and here's what's different about this house.
Tell the story.
Yeah, tell the story. And that's another thing, the branding. You're the brand, and then give the house a personality. Give the house its own story. I don't care if it's the same Highlands Ranch house, every 4 houses is the same floor plan. What makes this one different? Why is this? Why should people look at your listing compared to the other 4 in the neighborhood that are active? Think about the whys, not just like, I got to get content out and then check. It's not about checking the box. Don't even check that fucking box if you're going to just do that. You're hurting yourself more than helping yourself. So yeah, the leads mainly come from my DMs. What I have a hard time understanding with my conversion is a lot of people will say, oh, I've been following you on Instagram and then I went to your website and I love what I saw there. So it's like, I think that my website and my Instagram really help each other. So I never know what really sold the deal. Was it when they were at my website and then they went to the Instagram, or they were at Instagram and they went to my website? But they both go hand in hand. Make sure, because Instagram's great. Do people think it's legit? Not necessarily. Under 30 does. Under 35 does. Over 35, they want a good website. They want to know what you look like as a brand. So I use Luxury Presence for my website host. They are not cheap, but they do have good pricing packages if you think you're ready to get ready for a really big push on your website, and then put that website everywhere. Link to your website on your stories. Link to your every time there's a new listing, I wait for it to hit my website so I can go eliselosassoRE.com. Go to my website. And the SEO thing is a big deal. If you Google top luxury agent Denver, I come up. I'm like number 2. My SEO is amazing because I'm paying for it, but that's working. Yeah. So everything has to go hand in hand because you can buy followers, you can buy views, you can buy likes. It's all there. The way to tell that's fake and anybody can tell is the shares and the comments. Mm-hmm. The shares are really where it's at, So, if somebody doesn't have 30,000 followers and gets 2 likes or 2 shares, it's just not a thing. So that's where I think the legitimacy of our world is really scary too. Who are you really starting to work with? Yeah. And so the website and then, any other platforms that can bring that formality to you, I think is really important to break through to another price point.
Good stuff. So we're going to ask you guys, as I promised, we're going to give you an opportunity to ask questions, but one question from you, okay?
Yeah.
So we have insurance people here.
Yeah.
And we have lenders.
Yeah.
Okay. What advice would you give to them to earn your business? A $50 million plus real estate agent producer. What do they need to do to earn that business?
How you've earned my business is 2 things. You think outside the box and you gave me a client. We give insurance people and lending people clients all the time. Give us a client. Give me a client. He gave me a $500,000 buyer and I was like, let's do this. I mean, I loved that so much. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that in no way, shape, or I know you want to work with me. I know I want to work with you, but there was no fake behind it. It wasn't like, oh, it's just here's a little buyer so you can like me or get to know me so work with me. Jay didn't come off that way at all. The authenticity. And then also, you think outside the box with this stuff. I've done a lot of interviews. I've never seen anything like this. How hard is this, right? Not that hard, but it's just it's the investment in caring and doing it beautifully. Do everything beautifully is also what I would say. Make it look pretty. Make it look so good. I don't care if your open house is for 2 hours on a Saturday. Have orange juice, not in the fucking carton on the counter. Put it in a plastic liter. Pour it into cups. Have mini muffins. Don't buy King Soopers cookies for $1. Make everything you do pretty. And you do that. You have this class and elegance to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So that would be my advice.
There was a lot of hours put into this. Me and Larry met up 30 times. I said, It should be easy though, because Elise is a professional yapper.
Yeah, I totally am. Yeah. There you go.
So, all right, cool. So here's the rule. If you want to ask a question, just stand up, say your name, and then your question.
So I'm Tom Lightcon with Remax.
Hi.
I was just wondering, what is your ratio of listings to buyers?
It's funny you say that. As for the past 3 years, I've been 50-50, pretty much about. Mm-hmm. And it's because I don't say no to anything. And it's because I think the reason I'm listing heavy so far this year. I'm hoping to change that though, because I think again, for me, it's branding myself out of the middle class. And so when I kind of make sure that I'm doing more videos or more branding work to remind people that I work with any buyer, that's where it comes in. And then also, I'm telling my lender circle, I'm like, if you have any first-time home buyers, I don't care if it's a $300,000 condo, give them to me. Because those are the ones who then are they move on up and they build that portfolio. So I've never been overly listing heavy compared to my buyers though. And I think that's what keeps me so well-rounded too, is I love having a pulse on every market as I can. I don't know why anybody would say, no, that's not worth my time. I don't get that. Sorry, I just don't. If you haven't either quit or you've been through all the changes it's been through, now it must be hard to see and having to reinvent yourself with all the new marketing tactics. I'm sure that stuff. Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Yeah. And honestly, if anybody ever needs anything and you want to send me a message, that is the best way to text or Instagram message is the way that I work. I'm so happy to help. You're never bugging me. That's the other thing is the karma of this business, the intent behind it all. Somebody who's been in it as long as you have. I think, when you pay it forward or you give the time to other people or help, that's when it all comes back. That mindset of abundance is everything.
So true.
Yeah.
You don't mind.
I'm Ashley Brimmer. I am in real estate. I'm a realtor. But I was wondering the consistency. I'm not consistent. You are fantastic.
Yeah.
Both of you guys
Thank
are
you.
consistent. So how often, certain times a day that you need to post, once a day, once every 3 days?
Yeah.
Because it's a lot and it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And then I don't do any of it.
If you look at my page, and I get that's a very good question because you have to do this, I think, consistently for at least a year before you'll see a turnover. So that's the other hard part for people. They're like, nothing's really coming from this. And I'm spending a lot of money or I have, and I'm not reaping the benefits. And even after a year, you might get 1 or 2 from it. But then you start to get that confidence in your rhythm with it down. down. But if you look at mine, I maybe do 6 to 7 reels a month. So in 30 days, it's really not that much. It's the stories. Right? So open up your life. If you really, really want the business from Instagram, open up your life. Everything that you're doing throughout the day. And I'm not like, please, I take pictures of my food for sure. But like, it's not like, okay, this is what I'm having for breakfast. This is what I'm having for lunch. Now I'm going here. It's not about storytelling that. It's more like vlogging about, I wanted to get on because I just had this conversation with a broker in my office about this. And I think you'd all be interested about it. Or some days where it's dry and I haven't left the house because maybe I'm having a mental health day and I just need to stay home. I'll get on and say, oh, I just had a talk with Danny over here, my personal assistant, and we were talking about this, this, and this. And it's like, they want to know everything that you're doing. And if, most people, they'll scan through it, but then they'll think of you when it comes to real estate. You have to mix real estate and real life. Mm-hmm. And that is so important. I don't want to hear about the house constantly. I don't want to hear about the hardships of the job constantly or what you've got going on. I also want to hear about, my kid fell on the playground today and he's at the nurse's office and we all know what it's like to go get our kiddo. Who out there has experienced this as a mom and things like that. You've got to put people into your life a bit. Again, don't do this if you don't want to do that. I have plenty of people, especially a couple of girls on my team who are like really private. They don't want to do any of that. That's fine. Just because they're at the LoSasso group doesn't mean they have to focus on social media. That's not a rule. Better sell some real estate, but that's not a rule. Yeah.
Yeah, stories work. You got to do it consistently, like every single day.
Yeah.
So
yeah, sorry to answer your question. Yeah. Every single day. You have to get on every single day. Yeah. And I think the algorithm eats it up every 4 or 5 hours. It loves something every 4 or 5 hours. Yeah. I
always tell agents and lenders this, like, there's always, every minute there is an opportunity for you to film footage. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to post and you don't have to edit and post it on that same day. Just like Elise said earlier, have a folder where you just have a whole bunch of footage. So when you don't have much to do, just post it.
What I see in you and what I don't see in real estate agents today is you're very relational. Real estate made a transition sometimes where it became transactional. And people can feel that you really care about them as opposed to, I'm going after the commission. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a part of the industry that probably is not good right now because it is so transactional, where the relational, and you're living proof that people crave that.
Thank you. I hear that a lot, actually. And I think when I'm not relational and I'm transactional is when I'm in the fearful mind of scarcity, right? Scarcity versus abundance. If you're in the mindset of abundance, then you care about what you're saying and what you're hearing from other people. You can seriously see the same conversation 100 times different than when you're in the scarcity mindset. You're like, the perspective of it, the opportunity shifts of it. Or when, and I mean, guys, again, I had a $200,000 commission not hit my account on Friday, right? That was 2 days away.
Dang.
Yeah, they $8.5 million. And it was like, I was just going to be able to relax for a minute. And then I took a break from talking to my clients for 24 hours, knowing that I was not in the good headspace because I was going to be in like, dog eat dog, better go, hit the ground, get the job, get the deal. And like, they're going to be like, whoa. It's like when you're dating somebody, you push too hard, you're too forceful. It's just this like feeling. When you're easing into it and the abundance mindset is there and there's enough for everybody, there's enough love for everybody. I know that sounds cheesy, but there's so much hate and scare and fear in the world right now. The more you can pour love all over everything and people feel comfortable around you, they feel like you're giving them a big hug. I mean, you should see the male clients I have right now that I'm just babying the shit out of because they need it. They're so hardened. They're hardened by their families right now. They're hardened by their jobs right now. And it's just like, it's okay, I got you. Do we need to get some lunch? Or here's a water for you. Do you need a piece of gum right now? Just nurture the shit out of people because that's what makes them feel loved and cared for. Because if you think about it, the house is nurturing, right? Mm-hmm. It's so much more than a property. True. Yeah. So the abundance versus scarcity. Yeah. Nurture them.
Andrew?
Hey, I'm Andrew Kuntzman. How are you doing, Elise? I have seen you like grow a team and now continue to grow the team. I'm behind you in that a little bit, but I am working on growing a team. I just wanted to know, like, what have been the hard things of growing a team, and like, what is, like, it seems like your team's really grooving now. Mm-hmm. How did you like get the right people to be in the right seats on your team? And how do you best delegate? No,
it's not. And I'm happy you asked that. I'm not even that vulnerable about what happened with LoSasso Group last year. I had, it was 4 people. I had 4 people, including my full-time assistant. And your team is an extension of you. Who you're hiring says a lot about who you are. And so I was not in a great headspace, like I said, for a few months last year. And so I thought, as the savvy businesswoman that I am, that, okay, well, I'll hire a younger demographic, some younger agents who will meet a different demographic that I'm not. I'm to that point where I don't understand some of the things that younger people say. I'm like, what the fuck is mid or med? And I'm like, okay, I'm officially that person. I'm officially mom, and that was hard. And so I was like, okay, I don't want to lose out on the first time home buyers who are purchasing between 25 and 35. They thought that would be a good move, which it still can be. But finding those right agents in that younger bracket is tough. And not that these people weren't good individuals on their own, it was the team that I blended showed on how off my mindset was when I hired. And so all three left within, 3 of them got recruited. Actually, I'll just say it. My full-time assistant at that time, her and I were having issues. We were together for almost 3.5 years, I think, 3 years. Mm-hmm. And she became family. That's my other part, is boundaries with me. So when I say nurture people, I do, but then they become my family. And so I think that became tough when we started butting heads and she was growing as an agent. In a way, she kind of tried to overthrow what I was doing and what I was growing. And then there was a little bit of jealousy that came in there. And so as many people were getting poached by Mile High Modern, which was great. I love Mile High Modern. They do their job. Every brokerage is going to poach and they're going to recruit. That's their job. But when that came time, instead of her saying, guys, we're in the right place, she's amazing, you'll learn a lot from her, she said, yeah, here's why we should go. We should do this, this, and this. And that's tough. That took me down hard. Taj was the only one who stood by me. And I'm human. And so I was really vulnerable with my team too, which I think that made them scared that I wasn't a right leader at the time. And that's tough. Because it's like, if you stay with me, guess what? This girl will get everything from me. Everything. The loyalty is everything. And people change, they grow, they leave. I know, and what I'm telling people is, you're not coming onto my team to be a LoSasso group member. They're their own brand, by the way. Mm-hmm. They have their own logos. I want to know that if they do leave me, I'm leaving them and setting them up for success. I have no problem with them going off for something better. What I have a problem with is people taking advantage of you and taking advantage of what you've taught them and who you are with them, and then saying, oh, never mind, this isn't what it looked like. Because I didn't look perfect and wasn't perfect as they saw on social media every day, they left. Fuck that, And so that's more power to them. I hope they do well. But the women that I've hired now, which I'm not exclusive, I would love to have men on the team too. For some reason, men have a hard time working for a powerful woman. But I think, the team that I have now is a much more mature group, and they see me not as just an Instagram personality. There were some interviews where it was really interesting because as much as I was trying to ask them live questions, they were just kept bringing it back to my Instagram or my hair, my clothes, my jewelry. And I was like, this is fanning. This is not work. Right. And so this group is not just social media based. This group is really real estate focused. Yeah. And I can be myself. So that's what I would say. I learned a lot. Again, we are all human. I didn't know what it was like to grow a team, or I'm a good leader and I'm confident, but it took a lot. It takes a lot, and you have to be patient. You have to be available always too. So that's important.
Well, let me ask you, when you're bringing people to your group now, what filters do you have? So that way what happened in the past doesn't happen again. Yeah,
I think the filters that I have are, seeing those with the right goals in mind and not the ego. There was a lot, like there was one of them out of the 3 definitely produced more. Mm-hmm. But the ego was so intense that it was like, well, this isn't, I'm the star and this isn't happening for me, and it should. Mm-hmm. I deserve this. The entitlement. How's that? There should be no entitlement. Yeah. It should be that they feel lucky to work. And it does not work for me. They should feel lucky that they are in real estate and that they have the opportunity to grow their business, and that every door that's been open is something that they don't deserve, but not that they're owed, that they've worked for. Those 3 were very, where's mine, where's mine, where's mine? And that's not okay.
So do you have a group interview? Like, do you have the people on your team now? You guys do a group interview when you're bringing on someone?
No, I did a hire. So I posted to my stories once and I said I'm hiring, and we had 30 applicants. I interviewed 12, and took on 4. And so now we're a team of 7, including myself. I had Robin sit with me, who is my new assistant, and she's becoming her own agent as well. I had that because I was so fearful about where my mind was, right? I was pretty broken from last year, and, I was fragile, and I didn't want to be blind to anything. So while I'm the boss, I'm the one that makes the decision, I appreciated what she had to say about certain applicants. You know, I wanted some other opinions. And then they all had to call Taj too. They all had to call Taj, and she was like, she'd give her honest opinion. So I don't think I would ever do a group interview. That'd be very overwhelming for somebody, but it's also very distracting. And that is the other part. I didn't listen to myself last year. There were some things that I knew that I should and shouldn't have done, and I just didn't. I listened to the group. Huge mistake. You're the reason it's here. Right. You'd be the boss. Yeah.
Keeping it real. Tell them your story. Tell your story. I see your stuff. Just be consistent with it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. The videos, the content itself doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be professional edit and shit like that. Okay?
It's true.
It just needs to be consistent. It needs to be you. Okay, and it's very simple. I mean, like, just watch her stuff and rip the shit off and duplicate it. Not to go, don't follow her around. That's just creepy. Right? But just follow the pattern. Follow the pattern. Follow the consistency. Be there. I mean, look at me. I have no hair. I have no hair. I have no style, no jewelry, no nothing. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. You see, that's why you came to hear this all out. It can be done. It takes time. It takes consistency. It takes persistence, and just keep grinding at it. You can for sure do it.
There's plenty. When you've been in the business as long as you have too, I mean, there's so much to share and say. You should do a series. Like there's the series that I do too is I call it Cocktails and Closings. And so every other month I'll do like stories, like crazy stories about closings around Christmas time or things like that. If you have like a topic of series that you think you'd want to share when people like find it entertaining or valuable, I think like that's also helpful is when you can have one consistent piece that you touch every month, that's nice to have, knowing that you can focus on that and then other things grow from it. But also just the different age groups and different demographics that are out there, you know, I mean, there's a lot of things that I don't want to pretend that I know, you know, and I've had, so I had somebody come to me to put their mom into a senior living community and, you know, find like a 1-story ranch, and she needed all the ADA requirements. And like, I hate turning down business. I hate it. This was going to be a lot of work simply because she was mentally declining as well. And so I know an agent who focuses on that, believe it or not. There's agents who have their niches. And so I handed that off, and I don't usually like to do that or say that I can't do something, but I also don't necessarily believe in niches. If you have one, great. If you focus on investors, awesome. I don't really have one. If you think about it, I don't really have a niche. Everybody's like, well, where do you mainly work? I'm like, fucking Elizabeth to Boulder. No joke. Or, you know, do you focus on a price point? No. Do you focus on a topic? I guess if I had to pick, I can talk about horse properties is because I used to ride. That's it though. And I've only worked like 4 or 5 horse clients. It's not like it's like a thing. So be all encompassing. Why would you limit yourself? Now, if you become successful because you are the mom of the neighborhood and you are in a master plan community, like we have Tina Christensen at our brokerage who lives in backcountry in Highlands Ranch, where the properties are anywhere from 1.5 to 3.2. She just does that. That's all she does. Backcountry. She's just like the queen of backcountry. And now she's moved to Oregon and still is the queen of backcountry. She's her licensor still, and she's still running it. Like, she knows how to farm. She throws the parties. Once a year, Tina rents a bus and puts everybody on the bus to a Red Rock show, all booze paid for. I mean, everything. Like, that's for her top clients. You know, every year I do a top client party. Honor your top clients as well. I think that's important too. And then film it. Like Gerard also does this. Take advantage of opportunities to film. When you have like a big event you're going to, or you're throwing something, or you're having even Christmas at your house, film stuff. Like make sure a Christmas party, things like that. People want to see that you're out there, you're lively, that they want to know that you know enough people to sell their property. That's kind of where it's at. So one question I haven't gotten that I'm surprised about is it a big asset during my listing appointments or my buyer appointments that I'm on Instagram? Still to this day, most people's eyes glaze over when I'm like, yeah, I've got 40,000 followers. Half my business comes from Instagram. It's a big one up over other agents that I can do this and help promote the property. Not a lot of people know how to work with that. And I even wasn't pushing it. Push that. Like if you start to become successful, like that is making you stand out over other agents. Afshin, who's my co-list on Piccadilly, he was like, I'm bringing you on because I love you and I love working with you, but you've got the reach that I don't. So like offer to collaborate. What if my niche now is to co-list with everybody on their high net worth listings so I can reach on my social media and they don't have it? That's part of it too. Like run with different things, but make sure you're emphasizing and highlighting your fortes that way. Because I really wasn't. I was like, why am I not showing a huge sheet on just my Instagram at my appointments? I wasn't. And now I am. I did lose, I fucking hate this. I lost a $6 million listing last week in Copper Mountain, of all places, but they wanted somebody local at the end of the day. And he emailed me this morning saying, I don't know if it's going to work out with the agent we hired. I think we do need your reach. So we'll see if that ends up working out or not. He already signed the agreement, so they have to go to market, but he was regretting it. And that felt kind of good after he kind of stopped and took a deeper dive. The man didn't actually take a minute and go look at my videos. He thought I was just putting links in front of him. And so that was, I'm sure, tough, because it's like, look to see what I can do with a high net worth property.
Yep.
Yeah.
So do you find it a little bit easier to earn someone's business because you have this brand? Like, you're not sitting at the dinner table with a client trying to negotiate on commission or price because you have this brand. I'm sure people are just saying, hey, Elise, can you sell our house? Has that table changed?
Yeah, they do. So can you sell our house? And that, most people don't push on commissions. They really don't. But a lot of people, how about this? I'd say 50% still push on commission because they also look at you and like, oh, she makes a lot of money. Oh, she has a lot of business. She'll sell it for 1% because she doesn't need it. How about that? And then the minute you have the mentality of like, well, I don't need you, and that's the truth. I feel very blessed that I don't need it. Do I want it? Sure. But I'm not a paycheck to paycheck agent anymore. And I remember what that was like. And you still have to have the abundance mindset. But, I am worth every penny. I also do well. I can reduce my commission. I'm not that agent. Taj would disagree with me and she pushes hard, and bless her heart, she's really good at it. I'm okay saying right away, I'll go down to 2.8 from 3.2. Now, if I'm taking on, 60 days of staging versus 30, if I'm taking on the handyman instead of you, if I'm taking on the window cleaning, the house cleaning, the painting, all of it. I'm not going to do the leaf blowing. I'll call Gerard, but I then will have to say, hey, like, proof is in the pudding here. Like, I'm not going to go down on commission if I'm taking on all these costs. So it all evens out. But that conversation is getting harder and harder. It just is. Yeah.
But getting the business is actually a lot easier.
Getting the business is a lot easier. Yep.
Okay.
Getting the business is a lot easier. And I guess I've been out of the game a little while as far as like how much business development work I've needed to do. But I mean, every day I'm on that phone all the time. I mean, when I put my phone in the other room, I reach for it and I still go to backlight it. It's phantom grabs. It's toxic. So you have to digitally detox. You have to. My eyes have gotten really bad in the past 2 years because of it. My neck hurts because I'm looking down so much. All of those, like, it's a trickle down effect of keep yourself and your sanity first. Remember the things that are important, Like, I just laid in the park the other day with a blanket and was reading a book. I was just like without my phone. I haven't done anything that simple and that peaceful in a very long time. So that just gives you an idea too of the little things that still can make me happy that I forgot about. It's just going and doing it.
We need to get you some Meta glasses.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so we'll take a couple more questions and then we're going to wrap up. Anyone else have a question?
Lene Van Grift, I'm a lender. I'm going to start really putting in, concerted effort into doing these videos because I think there is an audience for it. But what type of videos do you think would be good for me to start with so that you would actually, as a realtor or the realtors in the group, feel comfortable sending them to my content to see?
Build your brand first. So build your brand, like sit down, and I'm sorry, I don't know how you work or anything about you. So I think it'd be really fun to follow you as you get going. So do a brand packet first. Pick your logos, your colors, all of that. Pick something that you want to be you. Like, my hashtag is Elise Keeping It Realtor. So if somebody wants to see everything that I've done and things like that, they can just go to that hashtag and that whole page comes up on different things for real estate related. So for you, Gerard is a license plate and like, hey guys, Gerard here. Pick something that's a theme for you that you love. I've got a girl on my team who's known as Mama Bear Realtor, right? She was focused in Tampa Bay. She's branding herself out here. So she's she's using the Mama Bearing it. She'll be the Mama Bear agent, something like that. That way you can play that to whatever it is that the topics of your videos you're doing. I know that sounds silly, but in order for you to not only be consistent, but then be brand recognized, you've got to have something. What makes you different than every other lender? Not what makes you better than every other lender. What makes you different? And what is it that's something that you love to talk about? Even if it's like, I have a love for Jurassic Park. For a while there, people were like when the new Jurassic Park was coming out, they were thinking of me as their agent. I'm not kidding. So I things like that you share about yourself that you love, you'd be surprised on what those themes would be. So videos, though, as far as like valuable content from the lending side, for me, it's always kind of summarizing where rates are and like what that actually means for buyers. I know that that's a common one, but I love when I get snapshot summaries and be like, okay, rates are here today, but what this actually means for buyers right now is you save this much month on this much mortgage. Like put it into layman's terms. I took the test, but that's it. I blacked out during the real estate test. You kidding me? I don't care about, the APRs and things like that. I want to know if I have a $500,000 budget, what's my monthly payment going to be? Like that's what I want to know. Dumb it down to where it's actually fun and valuable. Try and use graphics and fun reels. Like it's got to be eye-catching too. So hooks right now are everything. The first 2 seconds. What are the first 2 or 3 seconds of a video? What is it doing to grab people so they're not scrolling? That's huge. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what you do. I'll start following you. And so, yeah, you don't need a team right away. I think what you need to do is get organized on paper, the brand, the colors, the logo, the themes, then start going through Instagram, looking to things that grab you that you think are fun and entertaining, and then go from there and just create a folder for yourself. Then start. Yeah. Yeah. Don't just start, because then you'll go in a million different directions and everybody's going to be like, what personality is this? So yeah.
A good place to start and getting used to just being comfortable on camera is posting the behind the scene of what's happening in your day-to-day life on stories. And then when you're ready to start putting educational, that's when you post it on the reel.
My name is Mallory Green.
Hi.
I actually do insurance, so thanks for letting me crash your party.
Yeah, no, you're not crashing.
But so I'm about to turn 40, and as far as Instagram, so it was like big when I was in college. Like everybody's like, oh, we'll share our Facebook or Instagram's just coming, and so it's kind of a mix of like me back in the day and now me starting my business. But I know you said you kind of like slashed everything and then started over. How do you do that? Like, do I just pause and be like, here I am again, or do I have to start a whole new account?
Pause and start over again. I literally did a break in my grid where it was like it was the same photo 3 times in a row, but then it had a logo across the whole thing, where it was kind of like the break of like who I was and like who I became I took 3 months of a step back from everything. I went to a psychic. I started doing different kinds of therapy. I really dug deep on who I am in this business and who I wanted to be. And then it was just kind of like a phoenix from the ashes. It was just like, watch me fucking rise after this, because I was just so empowered after that. And you almost have to take a break, because and it was terrifying. I was like, God, if I stop, it might not come back to the momentum that I had. But I was so lonely and miserable and unhappy in the momentum that I had. So what's the point? That's how I saw it. Some people are just so comfortable that they'll stick with that. Does your personal one have more followers than the business? Exactly. So that's where you lead. So ditch the business one, move it over to the personal. Bring the business over to the personal. Always go with the one that has the most followers, because you've worked hard to get there. And then make sure you announce for 2 or 3 weeks on your business before you deactivate. Mm-hmm. Guys, follow me here. Link your new page to the story or the reel. And then there's no reason to burn yours to the ground and start over. Mine was because I was just miserable in it. So you, it's like, how do I blend my life with business? That's just it. Have your daughter be like a part of like teaching people about like what it is that you do. Have her do some cute, if you're comfortable with it, or hobbies that you're doing with her, and then how that affected your business that day. Did she have to stay home from school sick or anything like that? So, I think there's just things where you can blend the lifestyle with her if you want to, or if you just want to have it business focused, then just go that route. So I think that's, put it on paper first, get organized on what you want it to look like first, and then do it. You don't need to really take a pause. You just need to make sure that everyone knows from over here, you're going to be over here now. And then do something cute, be vulnerable, be like, all right, I'm starting over. This is my new page. This is who I am. So for those of you who don't know me, this is my name. This is what I do. This is my daughter. And I can't wait to work with you. Like, just be vulnerable with it. Be like, I move pages. If any of you can relate, that's what I'm doing. Own it. Yeah.
It's okay to share the losses. It can't always be wins.
Yeah.
Good question. Then Don, and then we're going to wrap up after that. Is that cool?
Yeah.
All right.
Don Mabry, EXP Realty, true to like what she was saying, I have another business that I started 14 years ago. I was a realtor back then, and then this other business totally took over my life. So the question is what would you advise someone who has been in the business? They haven't quit real estate or anything like that. They have another business that's totally different than what they do, but they want to really start focusing on real estate and like that.
Do you have social media accounts for both businesses? Okay. And are you closing what's the other business?
Myself and my business partner, we own a bingo hall, and I just started a nonprofit.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. I think that I would definitely highlight those through my real estate page, because that's how you're going to meet people and get new clients. You know, it's so wonderful, first of all, that you're doing a nonprofit. So highlight that. And then whatever you're doing with those services, be like, hey guys, we actually do this over here as well. And we're going to do an event for the nonprofit on this day. I'd love to see you. And if anybody needs help with their real estate needs, please referrals or everything, you know, blend it all together. But I would leave the other two pages and just highlight those businesses on your real estate page if the real estate page is what you want to focus on. And I think what's so helpful about having pages, right, is it almost is like the compartments of your brain. It's like, okay, now I can focus on one thing versus three things. And I feel grounded and rooted in this one. And it just brings me back to who I am today in this page. And if I want anybody, when people are like, oh, I've never heard of your name before, you know, I'd love to get to know you, I send them my profile. This is everything you need to know about me. And that's great. Or do a video, have a videographer, hire a videographer to do a branding video for you that explains who you are. They're interviewing past clients. One day at my house, it was 4 hours of filming. I invited 2 or 3 clients. We did testimonial videos, things like that. And I spoke about my branding business. I spoke about tuck development. I spoke about interior design, and I spoke about real estate. Now, if anybody wants to get to know me, I have a 1-click video. Here's about me. It's 4 minutes long or it's 30 seconds long, is however we cut it. So, you know, I think that would be a really good thing for you to do. And more kudos to you. It sounds like you're quite the entrepreneur. I think though, if you're going to exhaust yourself and people if you're throwing too much at the wall to see what sticks with everything. So just break it down, simplify it for you. And that's the organic growth that's going to come from it, and the organic clients is if you're just comfortable talking about other businesses on the real estate page and how things can relate to real estate. Like if the nonprofit, you know, for example, I had somebody do a nonprofit, feeding the homeless, almost like a restaurant group situation. They were able to speak about that and how like the restaurants in that neighborhood were affecting the values of the homes. Bring it all together. That's kind of how I would do it. Does that make sense? You need an assistant, which is where I was too. I'm getting pulled in so many different directions that I couldn't focus on what needed to be focused on. So if you've got 3 businesses, you need kind of a right hand. So I've got Robin, who's my real estate assistant. I have Danny, who is a personal assistant. And Danny's $22 an hour. And she's Monday through Friday, except for Wednesday, 9 to 2. She does all of my errands. She takes calls. She talks to people through the businesses that I might need her to just to help, while Robin's more focused on the actual work. Like, you need to start delegating so you can grow. Spend the money to make the money. Bye, Taji. Love you. Thank you. So spend the money to make the money. That's what I would suggest. It might take some time and effort to train and them to understand your life, but God, will that be, you'll make one phone call and be like, hey, handle this, this, and this, so I can go do this. They're going to love that you have got time to help them. Yeah. And that's what I say. When I go to listing appointments, I'm like, I have 2 assistants and I also have a team. So you're getting 1 agent for the price of 8 people, right? Yeah. Or sorry, you're getting 1 agent, you're getting price of 1 for 8 people. That's what I meant to say. So like, that's huge. When somebody knows you've got the support, but you're going to be the one who's the face and negotiating the deals and whatnot, like they're an extension of you, but it sounds like to me, you need a hand in order to be successful. So stop growing it so to where it's going to be too far gone to where you can't bring it back, reel it back in, take control of the businesses. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Good luck. You are lining yourself up for one of the most beautiful real estate careers you could ever want. And what I mean by that is I'm doing the International Women's Day event tomorrow night at my house. I have 120 women RSVP to come to my home. Different vendors are there, and every donate, it's $5 just to come into the house. You do have to pay for some of the vendors that are there, but $5 from everybody's going to the Women's Bean Project. Like, if you already have these people brought together, imagine one event that you could do for every nonprofit. Each nonprofit could have a table at the event, and now you've got people who are there who are just getting to know you, then who you have to somehow have an umbrella that the real estate company is the main business. And underneath that are the nonprofits that come from the success of real estate. And that's how you have to start it, even though that might not be the truth. And then the organic growth of clients will come. How many people want to be involved in nonprofits? A ton. How many people want to get to know another agent? Probably not a lot. Thank you for giving back to the community.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you, Don. Good questions. So Elise is going to send you guys her wiring instructions for all this advice. Okay. All right. So before we wrap up, what's one thing that you want our friends here to walk away with?
If it doesn't work for you, don't do it. I love that I can share on it and I love that I can try and help get you started. But if it just feels so foreign and awful and you're dreading it, don't do it. That energy is going to be surrounding you. So, I get that people feel like they have to, but I know plenty of agents who are very successful that don't even have a page. So, I don't want you to feel like this is something that you have to do to become a successful realtor. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Find what feels good. Find that.
Thank you, guys. Can we give it up?
Thank you.
Awesome work.
Thank you.
Can we do it again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
This was wonderful. Thank you.